Great. Thanks, James. Hi, folks. Name's Warren. We've got 10 minutes here. 10 minutes for 10 top tips. I haven't got a presentation slides. I just want you to take notes, get stuck in. This is going to be like Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock beer. You ain't going to touch the slides if we're not quick in 10 minutes. So let's get cracking. Tip number one, stop talking about recruitment. Stop talking about recruitment. 80% of recruiters, made up figure, 80% of recruiters talk about vacancies and candidates and are transactional. Hello, Mr. Client, have you got any vacancies? Hello, Mr. Client, I'm going to tell me about my candidate. I know it's more polished than that, but the bottom line says we just talk recruitment. Stop being transactional, start being relational, start talking market intelligence. Top tip number two, have 2 reasons for your call and tell the client that up front. Hello, Mr. Client, how are you? My name's Warren. There's 2 main reasons for my call. And if you say there's 2 main reasons for your call, if you get bombed out in your first one, you've got a second chance. So you're doubling your chances of success, you're doubling your phone time, and you're creating a conversation. While I'm on that, not a top tip, but just alongside this, KPI to measure is how long you hang on the phone. Each time you talk to an individual, start to think, okay, I got 5 minutes that time, log it. Next time you talk to that person, did you get 10 minutes? Next time, did you get 15 minutes? Because if you're not taking that further, you're not building a relationship, okay? I want the chances of the client picking up the phone when you call, even though if they don't have a vacancy, because they always learn something from you. So that's top tip number 2. Number 3, spread your love around. If you have 4 people in one company, then that's 4 people you can speak to. You can speak to each of them once a month, but you're talking to the company once a week. And when you phone up and say, hi, can I speak to Patrick, and Patrick's not in, you don't put the phone down. Or you don't go through to voicemail. Hi, can I speak to Patrick? I'm sorry he's not in. Is Mary in then, please? I'm sorry, she's on sabbatical. Great. Well, is Alistair there? And then you get through. You're maximising the time that you're spending. Think about recruitment as a vote for me campaign. And if you've got 4 people in the room to vote for you, the chances are you're going to get the gig. Number 4, use sponsorship. Sponsorship takes it from getting to know someone to them trusting you quickly. So what we're talking about is if you phone somebody up, get 3 thank yous from somebody. Once they're giving you 3 thank yous for something, say, hey, can I have a favour? They owe you a favour. So yeah, please, what is it? I'm sure that you know Brian in your Derby office. Could you introduce me to him? Or perhaps maybe I can use your name when I call. Yeah, sure. So now we phone Brian. Hiya, Brian. My name's Warren. You don't know me, but we both know Mary in your Nottingham office. She says hi, wishes you well, and suggested that we have this conversation. Sponsorship's key. Focus on high demand, short supply. High demand, short supply. If you look at the roles that are out there that are high demand, short supply, where the clients want them, but there's not enough candidates, guess what happens? You get better fees, you get bigger fees, you get better salaries or day rates for your people, and good enough gets a job. Good enough gets a job. Because if there's not enough people around, they'll take someone that's good enough. So start to think about high demand, short supply. Next, number 6, go niche and specialist. Specialize in one arena and become an expert in that arena. Dig deep in that arena. But within that arena that you focus on, for 25% of your time, go niche. Niche and growing. What in that arena is niche at the moment, but you know it's going to go boom. The people that got into DevOps 4 years ago are now making a fortune. So start to think about it. When niche and growing becomes mainstream, it's going to become high demand, short supply, and you're going to hold all the aces. You're going to have the candidates. Number 7, be ahead of the curve. And being ahead of the curve is making sure that you know about upcoming legislation and regulations. People have to comply. Clients have to comply when it's legislative, when it's regulatory. Okay, old thing that's been going around just now for a while, but IR35, yeah? It's that type of thing. Be ahead of the curve, because then companies will be listening when you phone up and say, what are you doing about, or not, by October, we've got to have X, Y, and Z. And if they don't know about it, they go, oh, tell me about that. And then you're in. And if they do know about it, they know that you're also ahead of the curve. And guess what? By the time that October comes, you're going to stack and rank your candidates. You're going to take them to market, because if they have to have somebody that can do a certain job on site by October, you're in the room. Number 8, capitalise on disruption. Where there's disruption, there's opportunity. COVID, nobody's liked COVID, but come on, take the legal market, the legal industry. What's happened? Family law, because we're all locked up together, family laws has gone from being outside the top 10 to currently being number 6 for the number of vacancies around. Number 9, build your personal brand. People want to check you out once you've made the first good impression over the phone or via email. They're going to start looking at you. They're going to go to LinkedIn, right? So what does your LinkedIn profile look like? Because when people start poking around, and I'm not talking about your job title and your smiley face, I've got a perfect face for radio, but I've still got to put it on there. What we're talking about is let LinkedIn get to know you as a person and as a personal brand. So post 3 times a week. 3 times a week is all it needs. Once a personal post, get to know you as a person, what you get up to. You're walking in the park, you're walking the dog, you're taking your kids out. Let them see some of that. Post personal once a week. Post success. Record week for number of interviews, and the good news is more 2/3 of the people we put forward are unemployed. Let's get the unemployed back into work. Says you're a good person, says you're a good company, but says you're successful. 3rd post, solution. Yeah, we had a client phone us the other week, said they had a problem. We came up with a solution. We've now rolled that out to the market. Let them get to know the personal brand, but show them about you and the company. Number 10, find out if you're needing to sell brand or product. Are you needing to sell your personal brand, your company, or the product? By product, I mean the service. Has the client bought that product before? So you want to sell a retainer? You need to have the client understand, or you need to find out from the client whether they bought and paid a retainer before. Because if they paid a retainer before and they didn't like it and it went pants, then you've got to rejig that before you then batter on about your brand. But if they have bought a retainer before, they did like it, and that's the way that they go about recruitment. You don't have to sell them on that. Sell them on you and your brand of doing that. I don't know how long this has been. I reckon I might have just come in a little bit early, so I'm going to leave you one more bonus one. And it says just, I'll leave this and I'll let this just think it through. Seek to understand before being understood. Seek to understand before being understood. That's me, folks.
January, so I'm really excited to be sharing our tips and techniques today for underperformance. It doesn't have to be a dirty word. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through. Don't worry, it's not death by PowerPoint. I've literally got 5, I think. So just want to make sure that you're seeing that. So underperformance. I usually say to people to actually focus on the higher performers. If you can get 10% out of your more out of your higher performers, then actually that's going to build a business for you. But we've been in this situation for a year now. The majority of people are going to struggle, and certainly if you're getting people coming back, or if you yourself are coming back into the workplace as things open up again, then actually underperformance is likely to be an issue in some form or another. So I did think from a BD point of view, let's get this on the table and utilize it, because actually turning around a negative, turning around someone that isn't performing, for me is one of the best things in recruitment, to see that person fly afterwards after having those discussions. Unfortunately, those discussions are not easy, so I'm going to make it a lot easier for you today. First and foremost, it's all about setting expectations. If that person doesn't know what good looks like, if they don't know what is expected of them, then they don't know if they're performing or not. And then it's really difficult to have that conversation, to talk to them about the fact they're underperforming. They're like, oh, I didn't know. You need to tell me. So let's just go through this short process. I will make the slides available for everyone as well. MAS. MAS stands for minimum acceptable standards. So this is the bottom line. You cannot go below that line. We all have targets in recruitment. We tend to be pretty good at those, but we tend to focus on revenue and activities. So we also need behaviors in there. So you'll notice the targets are set on behaviors, activities, and results, but guess what? It says that's the bar. That's the bottom line. You don't go below that bar. So we need to know, what is it that we're looking for, targets, and what is the minimum acceptable standard of those behaviours and activities and results. So think about what you've got set already. There's bound to be some. And then think, well, what else could there be? What are the behaviours that I want to see in the business that will help to drive those activities and therefore create the results? And Warren mentioned it a moment ago. It's about the ratios, the analysis, the KPIs on those. So what activities are you doing? What results are you getting? That's your KPI. And are you being effective and efficient in that? And you can probably find out what's missing and where the underperformance is coming from. Now, ideally, what we want to be is in a situation where we've actually got stretch targets, where the individual says, okay, that's what you want me to go for, but I'm going to go for this. So ideally, that's where we want to be. But we know potentially we're not in that scenario. So let's just explain the difference between the two. If they are between minimum standard, yeah, they're above the red line, but they're not at target, then okay, that's unsatisfactory. We don't want them there. We want to help, we want to support, and we'll look at how to do that. But actually, unacceptable is below that red line. You cannot keep someone there for a long period of time. So we need to do something about that. And usually I would suggest a month-long action plan that's reviewed at the end of that month, and then they get 1 more month. So you're looking at a 2-month time period before things will get serious. So people know they've got that time to make a difference, to make a change, and it's all set out. And I'll give you the flow chart as well a little bit later. So let's talk about what the issue is with those underperformers. If they're below the line, we need to have the discussion to first of all find out, well, is it skill? Is it that they haven't been trained? They don't know how to do this, and therefore, okay, we've got to take that one on us. Is it knowledge? And they don't actually know the information to be able to put that skill into practice, or is it attitude? And sometimes it can be a combination of all three. I don't know what I don't know, and I don't want to do it. Okay, not a great place to be, but we need to find out first of all where those issues are. So the discussions that you have to actually break down, okay, we're below minimum standard here, there's an issue, let's talk about what's stopping you from moving forwards. From there, we can then start to identify, okay, so what are we going to do about it? Now, I don't expect you to be able to read this, but I did want you to be able to see how the flow chart works. So I'm just going to quickly talk through this for you. So they're below minimum standard, it's unacceptable, we have a discussion. From there, you'll set an action plan and you'll put those review times in there and you'll talk about, is it activity, is it behaviours, is it results, and is it knowledge, skill or attitude that's the issue here. From that you can get your actions, and you need to have an open discussion, and it needs to take away the emotion. It's all about the practicalities here and what can be done to move this person forward. So once the action plan's agreed and you review, then you have a weekly review and then a formal review at the end of the month. And ideally they can actually go to the left-hand side of the page here. Performance is acceptable. We're back on track. Fantastic. Carry on as normal. If they're not, though, performance is unacceptable on the right here with a red. Okay, we repeat steps 1 to 5 again. Let's go through. Let's see where we are, what's working, what's not. Is it still knowledge, skill, or attitude? The likelihood is it's going to be attitude in the second month, because the first month you've given them the support and the coaching and the information to be able to do the job. And therefore you've picked up on all of those. Okay, love that. So formal review then, end of the period, we're back again 2 months in, and we need to make sure that we've actually got the details and the evidence. We've been monitoring that all of the way through. If the performance is still unacceptable, we now need to go into that disciplinary procedure. We need to make sure that they know what's coming and that conversation is happening. Now, I've had a lot of people that have really struggled to have those conversations, but if you have the expectations set, people know what good looks like, they know what's expected, and they also know that if they do fall below the line, then there will actually be an opportunity for them to work on that. They're not just suddenly going to write, you're out. It's let's work for the first month, let's work for the second month, we're going to work all this through, and then that procedure will kick in, knowing that. And this has happened with a lot of managers that I've worked with, when they finally had the discussion, because they found it really difficult to deal with that. The person's actually turned around and said, I needed that. I needed a kick up the arse. I needed to be told what the situation was. And actually, there's been a few instances where that person as a consultant has gone from being potentially of losing their job to actually moving forwards and becoming the top consultant for the next 2 quarters. I can give you an example of that. So how amazing is that you can turn someone around just by having the conversations, having a process, setting the expectations, people know where they are. And of course, that support is really important in the middle of it. So that's our managing underperformance. I believe that was just under the 10 minutes.
Thanks for that, James. And thanks everyone for having me. I'm going to give a little caveat before I do this. I am a bit of a data geek. I absolutely love it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to share my screen so you can see my presentation. There we go. Right, and so what you can see here is the power of data, and that's what we're talking about. And it's not just data that's available at your fingertips, but sometimes it's been mined. That is actionable data is what we're talking about. So just this is what most people think about data. They think the matrix, they think it's out there, it's untouchable, it's unusable. And in its raw form, that's actually the case. So my background is not data analytics. I'm not a data engineer. My background is sales. And what I've done in my career, though, is I've used data to its maximum to make sure that I get out of it as much as I can to enable me to make as much money as I can. Because I'm all about, as James said, working smarter, not harder. And so I've worked on my own sales campaigns, but also for my staff as well, to look at how we can leverage data to help us penetrate customers better, sell more to customers, go into new markets, new territories. So I'm going to step in. This is all Vacancysoft data. So I'm going to step into something just very quickly. So what we're seeing here is this is a list, and it's top 20 companies who are posting jobs 40K and above. And what we've just done here is we've compared the last week to the last year. Now, look, there's no great shakes here. This isn't something that's going to revolutionize your world. We could probably guess Amazon were going to be at the top of that. Yeah, we've all been at home ordering stuff online like no one's business. It's all going crazy. And then what we're doing with that is that Amazon are employing more, right? That's not interesting. What you can start to do with data, though, is to really drill down to what is interesting. So at this high level, this is something that I would expect to see, and we've got names on here, Ernst & Young, Salesforce, Deloitte, exactly what we'd expect to see. And as we start to step through, we can start to see, actually, data's been drilled down. So what we've done here, now this is London, again, 40K, but we've gone into the IT discipline within SMEs. So if you're an IT recruiter, going after somebody, we could look at Recharge here, and in the last year they posted 12, but in the last week they posted 5 jobs. So the last year they had 12 and 5 in the last week. They are definitely somebody that I would be speaking to because they're on a recruitment campaign. They're actually out there hiring people in. But it's not just ringing somebody up going, I can see you're hiring, I'm the man for you. It comes back to what Warren was saying. I think it was your tip number 1, which is don't go in there talking about recruitment. Don't get it, because they don't care, right? Like, here's a news flash for you. No one cares other than you. Because what they're caring about, they're probably thinking about their product lines, getting people back to work, it being safe. They're probably thinking about how they're going to make next quarter's targets. Recruitment is on their list. It's just not high on their list. So what you've got to go in with is you've got to go in and look to answer problems or have conversations that are more than just, I've got somebody you should see. Talk about what's going on in their industry. So if you're an IT recruiter, you should know the IT space. You should know what are the hard skill sets to find? What are the hard languages to fill? Are salaries up or down? Are candidates scarce in London, but there's an abundance in Bristol? You should know this stuff. And this all comes from mining data. This comes from you upskilling yourself so that you are not the guy that says, oh, he worked for 4 years at Deloitte. No, you're the person that says, do you know, in your area, we've seen a 60% increase for this skill set. And so you're going to find it hard to find people. And actually, you'll probably find that getting people to move looks like a higher price tag at the moment. Let me send you a quick report over that I read the other day that is detailing how people are doing things differently. You are suddenly no longer a salesperson. You are somebody that is adding value to their day. And as Warren was saying, it might be that you have a 2-minute conversation this time and a 5-minute next time, but you're always looking to add value. And that value comes from data. I've won some of the biggest clients I've ever won have come from me sitting them and saying, let me tell you what's going on in your market. It comes from me saying to them, I know what you did last quarter. You don't need to tell me. I know your business. I understand your business. I understand where you're posting, how you're posting, what you're posting, what kind of roles, what kind of salaries, everything. And it comes from data. Now, Vacancysoft take data from thousands and thousands of websites so that we have this. And we've been doing this for over a decade now. And so we've got a back catalogue of things that you can start to drill down into and say, what does good look like in that data front? So here we've got, again, all we've done now is we've got this large customer list, but we've started to break it down and say, okay, what's the last 12 months, 3 months, and last month? I would look to identify, so I've got 12 months here, we could spread this over 3 years and start to say, when are people's hiring spikes? Let's say you're contacting a customer and you can see the last 3 years, every September, they've been hiring more than their average. I'd be starting speaking to them in May and start to lay the groundwork. I know you've got a recruitment campaign coming up. I can look at the data and I can see this is coming. I know you're going to be recruited for these kind of roles. Is that right, Mr. Customer? Is that the same, Mrs. Customer? Are you looking to do X? This is what I do. This is what I can provide you. And almost to the point where I have produced in the past mini board reports. Let me produce this for you. This is what's going on in our market. You say you're up 5%. Well done you. The market is up 7%. But equally, you're down 3% while the market is down 7%. So we're doing really, really well here. All of these things can be value adds to your customers. That is what everyone else is not doing. They're so busy trying to put bums on seats that they're forgetting that actually it's the relationship that sells. So you can see all of this data. This is taken from the vacancy analytics tool that we have. Everything that there's either got a line under it or is blue has the ability to drill down into it and find more data and more data. And that's where it comes. And what we can see here is, excuse me, we can see that actually job postings in this area are at an all-time high, higher than they were March 2018, before we were all wearing masks and we couldn't give each other a hug. Yeah, back when we lived in the real world and we were, and toilet paper wasn't currency. We can see here that job postings are actually an all-time high, and they're on the increase. We can see some of the obvious dips. We always see a dip in December. We can see a dip when the general election was on and there was a bit of uncertainty. This information is tangible and actionable. This is you saying to your client, others are doing this. This is you saying internally to your management structure, to your investors, to your boss, look, things are on the up and this is what we should be doing. And data helps you to target people. These people are recruiting, and then go to them saying, it's not just you. This is what's going on. And so we can see here, we can compare these graphs again. All of this taken out of Vacancysoft analytics. What's going on in the financial services market? We can see that actually, again, March 2018 versus now is a massive difference. And here's a key thing to take away. Is I personally would be publishing this data. So we allow you to watermark this. We've got Vacancysoft, put your own stuff on there. Be a voice to the market. I'm going to pick on Warren again. Sorry, Warren. But Warren talked about your brand, what your brand is and how you're putting your brand out. Well, my brand would be, I want to put stuff out on LinkedIn. I want to be writing blogs to say, I'm not just somebody who fills seats. I'm somebody who understands my market. You can come to me and ask me questions about what's going on. And I'm knowledgeable because I have this power of data behind me. And let's look at those two people. Somebody who's just going to say, yeah, I've got 3 candidates, I'm going to fire over some CVs. Or the person says, actually, you might be a bit low on the salary there. Have you thought about posting this location instead? Because you've got an office there and they're X amount cheaper and the demand is different. That person is a trusted advisor, and they're the person that they will call when there's an issue, when there's a problem, the first call. I've always said, I don't care what my clients call me about as long as they call me first. So think about this as you move forward. What is the real power of data? What can you do to leverage that data to set internally, externally, for your clients and for your brand? All of these things, it's very, very easy to to want to jump in and say, look, I've got a candidate, or it's a price thing, we're going on percentage. Actually, it's these little nudges for clients. These little, by the way, saw this, you might find it interesting. And James Chaplin, who's the content of this, is actually the king of that. Is thought you might find this interesting. 10 o'clock at night, and I'm still reading something going, this is crazy interesting. Those are the people who you see rise through the ranks. Those are the people that you see managing teams, taking on their own businesses, taking on divisions, because their customers trust them, and with trust comes money. Now, when it comes to sales, I know that we are all ruled by a target. We're all ruled by that bottom line. And sometimes what you want to do is look, yeah, it's great to have these data points. And you'll say, no, actually, I'm better just hammering the phones or getting some CVs sent out. Make time for this. Make time to analyze the data that's going on in your market. Speak to other people who know what's going on. Take that and make it into actionable intelligence that allows you to be that person that calls out with something to talk about other than a great CV. Now, I'm only 1 minute over, so I'm just going to say this before we finish. And that is, this is a big thank you to those who already do this and understand the power of data. But let me tell you, you are the minority. I'm going to challenge you all with this. Go and find something that you can talk to clients about that is data-centric. So it's not opinion. We're not talking about, Blues v Reds. We're not talking about the rugby, although I will because I'm Welsh. It is much more about, let me tell you what's going on in your business. Let me tell you what's going on in your market. I challenge you to go and have one of those conversations this week and see how that goes. And if you need some data, here's the sales pitch. I'm in sales. Come and speak to us at Vacancysoft. We've got this data to power these things. So if you are looking for data to power these conversations, power blog pieces, whatever it is, come and see us and we can do a little breakdown of a client for you and see how that goes. Come and have that conversation. Thanks, James. And thank you everyone for listening. And